I need to shut my sound off. Otherwise, hey. All right, now.
How you doing, Corbett? You look better.
I'm,
Better?
I took my last antibiotic for this current round on my way down here.
Is that
Good. Oh, we'll find out more on Friday.
Town hall meeting into the waiting room. There we go.
It's her antibiotic didn't work.
Okay. Johnny with computer audio.
Recording in progress.
I thought I had this. That's interesting.
Okay.
How's your husband?
I may have to boogie. Do they have a quorum there? Do you guys have enough people there? Or do I need to get in my car and come down? I may have to get in my car and go down there, hon. I know what I was thinking. I can vote from here. But the question is whether there's a quorum. I don't know. There are 4 people there. I think that's enough, but I don't know. Maybe I should just get in my car. You guys are muted. You're all muted. Here's Catherine. They've got more than enough.
How's that?
Here we go. Joel, you're muted and the town board is muted.
Witness intimidation. Right?
Joel, you're still muted on your computer, but you may want to be if town hall is not muted.
We're okay now, are you not?
Yep, I can hear you.
Brittany.
You can hear us now, right?
Yep.
If we use a mic. You need one.
Wait, I'm gonna do this for my phone. Hi, Brittany. She heard me. Yay. We have everybody here. We have everybody here. Okay.
Here.
Post it like you're on mute.
No.
Wouldn't.
But it is.
Makes a mess if I do.
I need to say it is. Oh, how do
Okay.
you? And I'm here. But you know, we're not. Yeah. It's terrible. They get a lot of ratings here.
Brittany, how come you're not here?
That doesn't mean.
You're muted.
Maybe you is the.
You're muted too.
There you go.
Last time that I was here, it was a Zoom meeting, so I didn't realize we had returned to in-person meetings. I actually prefer in-person, so.
Yeah. We're supposed to be in person if we can be.
Joel, you're muted.
No, I'm not.
You're muted according to that.
Yes, but if I turn that mic on, then I
You'll
get
get
all
feedback.
Yeah. So I'm using this mic instead.
Oh, okay. Should we
All right,
start the
well,
meeting?
Are we ready?
Joel, if you let me in, I'm on my phone with the
Oh,
Zoom
oh.
for it. Yeah, you let me in.
It's easy. There you go. I can make it co-host now. So it is.
I'm trying to bring up the agenda.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
Here we
I
go.
have it right here if you don't have it, Corbett.
I just got it. Thank you. So, are we ready to call the meeting to order?
Probably.
Okay, let's call the meeting to order. I think the Zoom is working. I know that Joel set up the recording. Jonathan is the co-host.
Right, I can make you co-host as well.
I don't want to try and do it from my phone.
Okay.
And my tablet is updating itself.
Oh,
The first order of business is a review of the agenda. Does anybody have any additions or changes to the agenda?
Actually, I do.
there you go.
Okay, great.
I wrote the agenda, but I discovered these notes that I've been meaning to bring to the attention of this meeting. And that is the website for the New York State Conservation Easement Credit says that the credit is 25% of the school district, county, and town real property taxes for a conservation easement.
Yep.
So we are getting
Oh, yeah.
25%.
Yeah. Up to $5,000.
Have you ever mentioned that on the website?
I don't know if we have not.
I mentioned it in my presentation.
It's come up several times before.
Yeah.
I would suggest we put that on the website or bring it up along with the thing we send to the town. Oh, we've already sent that to the town hall about the 90%. Well, it seems like that should have had this information on it as well. But I would suggest we get it up someplace as information and give this website as verification of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And isn't that something that the secretary would do?
I mean, I don't do the website, but
Well, you could.
You're always making little hints like that.
Yeah,
You
Uh,
can just send the link to, Janet.
yeah, Janice, but she could also be trained by Janice.
It
to
should
do
be in a spot that makes sense with everything else.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I totally trust you to put that
Yeah.
spot.
Yeah.
Send her a link.
Okay,
But
well,
yes,
I'll
that's a
take a
good
look
thing.
at the website and give her, should reflect the changes that we've made recently. Or not.
Yeah, we haven't,
Really changed it since we
Not-
started this
not in the last
brainstorming.
4 months or something, yeah.
Okay,
Right.
so
Okay, well,
you are enabling me to bring it up with Janice.
correct.
Okay.
And that's, so we just did the first thing on the agenda then, is that correct?
Agenda review.
Kind of, okay. So, and nobody else had,
No, it's just so broadly stated, it covers just about everything.
right, so,
I do have one thing, but I can just, I just got this from the Delaware Highlands. It's another example of things that they do. So it's in paper form, so I can scan it, send to people, I guess.
that'd be good. Okay, privilege of the floor. Rhonda, do you have anything this evening?
Yeah, I just have one thing to say. I was kind of hoping that we would take on, and I'm glad Brittany is here, take on the whole issue of invasive species in Danby. And the DEC has a whole law on invasive species. And it would be very simple for us to just do something like reaffirming that we agree with their law and we would like people to follow through with it and not to acquire invasive species. For example, my neighbor has koi in his pond, which are an invasive species, or to purchase and plant invasive species, and that we might help people who have invasive species and try to get them to deal with them. I'm just as guilty as the next person of over the years importing things from others into my yard, and then they just take off. And that happened to me with Ranunculus viscaria. I got 4 plants from Bill Dress, botany professor at Cornell, and they're half a mile from the house at this point. It's just, if I had known that was going to happen, I never would have taken those 4 plants. So, I would like us to try to get a handle on some of these invasive plants and animals and try to help people deal with them. And I think that that's a good thing to be doing.
Do we have, a community event in the summertime at some point?
Well,
Not we, the town specifically.
Right,
well, there is are they doing, Danby Fun Day, or what do we call it, something else last time?
That has not been, I haven't heard a thing about that for this year, but
Right, yeah.
I'm just thinking, or even, are people doing a farm market?
that would be, okay, probably, you're talking about the something special or whatever they,
Whatever they want to call it.
The
this
name,
year. Yeah.
exactly. Alana has been doing that. She's busy, but I don't know that I expect it to happen. That would be a place for something like
That
that. That's
would
what you're
be-
getting at, right?
Yeah.
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 But
I
the
mean,
first
Rhonda-
thing we need to do is actually reaffirm the state's law and make sure that people understand that the state does have a law and that these plants and animals are listed on this law, and that maybe you could get koi legally in Pennsylvania and bring them back to New York State, or some obnoxious plant, but we would appreciate it if they would not do that.
Right, right. So that certainly is something that could be added to the Conservation Advisory Council webpage.
Yep.
With just a link to that law, and a paragraph saying, you know, that this will provide you with a list of things that we encourage you not to have. Yeah, I'm equally guilty of planting, you know, fun things that have gotten out of control over the years. But yeah, anything we can do to help that. And the other thing would be if we do something at a farm market, just like plants of garlic mustard. I'm about to hire one of my neighbor's daughters to spend a few hours fighting back the garlic mustard.
Can I hire her afterwards?
Yeah, you know, it does help if you weed it out. It
Yeah,
does.
yeah. You have to get it before it flowers, though.
Right, it's starting to flower right now. But that's-
Actually, you want to do it right after the seed pods form. If you do it earlier, other seeds in the soil will sprout. So the
Yep.
best time is when the seed pods are green, like right after they form.
Okay.
Regarding the wall that Rhonda's referencing, unfortunately, it covers vanishingly few of the invasives.
Right.
Most are listed as invasives, but not actually prohibited.
Right.
But
I'm looking at it now. It's a tiny list. It's
Yeah,
a tiny,
yeah.
tiny list.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Giant hogweed and,
So some nasty things that are listed.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
I suggest Brittany writes an article for the newsletter.
Okay, I would be down to do that.
I love that idea.
There's a couple of things happening that and I forget who's sponsoring it, but there's a couple of webinars, or they might be webinars, it might be seminars this summer on invasives. And I'm trying to remember who it is that was sponsoring it, but they're mostly focused on aquatic invasives. So I said, well, you know, not as useful as they were more for us uplanders.
Yeah.
Well, I think we should take every opportunity, whether it's writing articles and doing things at farmers markets and even featuring a particular invasive every month in the town newsletter, you know, and having a picture or a drawing or something like that. This is a plant that you should not, you know, don't plant this plant. And if you've got it, try to pull it out or whatever, deal with it in
Yeah.
some way.
Be
Maybe
careful with
whatever's blooming that month or whatever's most recognizable.
That month.
Featured.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well-
If they got Japanese knotweed, try to figure out how to get rid of it.
In addition to that, I've been thinking for a while that I wouldn't mind writing a short, I don't know, monthly column on wildlife. Sometimes it can be invasives or whatever seems timely.
Great.
I would like to suggest that for things like that, it would be good for the section that we put, that the CAC writes for the town news, that it also includes a link to interesting articles that are here, there, and everywhere. And
Sure.
put them. I
Yeah.
think that would be a really good way, because then you can have more of an extensive, and maybe
Yeah.
more than once a month, sometimes, whatever, but it could show up on the town website, on the CAC, with reference from in the town newsletter.
I'm happy to
Nicole.
contribute. Great.
Yeah.
That'd be good. If I might throw this out too, this month is the Danby Plant Exchange, you know, that
Right.
Klein coordinates. That's coming up, and there've got to be a couple hundred people that are interested in plant things in the town of Danby. So would it be possible, like, for maybe extension or one of us just to have sort of like a table there with that information, that
Yeah,
list
I'm
of
not gonna
plants
be here.
that Rhonda and Brittany are referring to, just even a poster
Yeah,
at this
I
thing.
can do that. I have a bunch of literature from Prism that I could hand out.
Are you gonna go to the plant exchange, Brittany, do you think?
I mean, like, if you could see my garden, the kids have really taken a toll on my ability to put time into that. So
If you prepare something,
writing on
I'll let we
first-
always go. So if you prepare something, Leslie and I will bring it to put it
Okay.
up.
Wait, I could bring like a card table or something. I mean, just to have a platform. I don't know what you're thinking.
Well, there's a bunch of
Jonathan.
tables there already.
And is
Yep.
there, a group if we want more pamphlet-like stuff, is there a group like a Native Plant Society or something?
There is
We
one.
could
Yeah,
ask
there's
for
written-
that now and maybe.
I have a
they-
bunch of pamphlets. I have a whole like trunk full of
Oh,
stuff.
okay.
And Don,
No, I
Don, your
I
card,
could go and sit there because, you know, I'm used to tabling about invasive species and talking to people about it.
cool. Well, we
Okay.
need a card table. They've all the other tables that are already there. First of all, there aren't that many. They're all the big picnic tables and they're all completely occupied with people's plants. So Don's idea of bringing a card table is relevant, is a good idea.
Okay, great. Yeah, if somebody could bring a table, I can bring the literature and sit there.
But I
Okay.
think it's important that we write something in the newsletter so that it goes out to everybody in the town and that people are aware of the law, that, you know, that they
Yep,
know.
Brittany has said she's gonna do that.
Yeah, I'll just get it in the notes for this, month, just to make sure that it gets done. Because it's like next week that we have.
Right.
to-
Ah,
Yeah, it's coming up soon. Yep.
Maybe we ought to have a banner that says Danby CAC. You know?
Yeah,
That
next
wouldn't
month.
Why not?
Okay, thank you, Rhonda.
It was a long 3 minutes, but
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
But we all participated.
yeah.
Okay, so, now we have to do the minutes from last month. I read them. They were.
I read them.
Good for me.
Oh, my goodness, they were well written, Betsy.
Oh, thank you. Well, I incorporated Joel's edits in there, but I got them to the website late and you all late, so. But they're in it now.
Mhm.
No, I thought you had a voice. I thought they were cogent and powerful and they had a flow and almost a lyrical quality.
I wish I read them.
I enjoyed them.
Good.
Good, good.
So does somebody want to move to approve the minutes?
I move.
But before we do that, we just throw. Sorry about that. We just throw it, did read them late, not when I should have, and I just spoke to Betsy about, a statement here about me that I'm not a member of the National Association of State Foresters. I've never been a state forester. So I'm a member of the Society of American Foresters. Again, little tweak there, but
Yes.
Yeah,
one's
right.
right, one's wrong.
Yeah, it should be
We
corrected.
checked it.
Yeah.
So I
corrected.
gave it to Betsy way too late, so.
Okay, so,
It's not way too
It'll
late.
be incorporated. in
Yeah,
the-
that'll
right.
be, it's
Just so
So-
everybody's aware.
yeah, that's good. And then actually, we need to move to approve them with the amendment.
Yep. Who's gonna, I'll do it if nobody else.
Okay?
Okay.
But you already did it, didn't you, Jonathan?
yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't know about the amendment.
Right. Okay, and he just did again. So who seconds?
I'll second it.
Okay.
There we go.
I've left my alphabetical list home. I'm just gonna go around.
Please do.
Yeah, go around the table.
Schaffler,
Yes,
Owen,
Yes,
Corbett,
Yes.
Gagnon.
Yes.
Hunter,
Hunter.
yes.
You on
This.
Zip
Yes.
and Brittany.
I'm gonna abstain. I did not read them.
Oh,
Okay.
Oh, you would have enjoyed them, Brittany.
It's,
Sorry, I completely forgot. I did want to, make a FYI
I
comment.
don't think so.
It's not an action item or anything. So, about 3 weeks ago, I live, right next to State Forest, in South Danby, there on Peter Road, and, there was a mass of, off-road vehicles going up this short road that goes through a part of the park that's, there's nowhere to go off-roading along this State Road, and it's an in and out. You can go out the other end. It's not just a dead end. And it was just kind of very strange because it was such high traffic and not even anywhere to park. There's no big space or anything like that. And I did walk it afterwards, and there was some trash that I picked up. So I'm not really sure what, but it was definitely an organized thing within the scope of an hour. 30 to 40 vehicles went down this 2 mile stretch of road.
Yeah.
So then I didn't kind of forgot about it. And then a couple of weeks later, not a week ago, on this road are 2 of the big pipe gates for the that they have open for snowmobiles in winter, and they're shut now. They're never locked. There's no lock. They're just pulled shut. And I walked and I took photos. Someone had gone in and taken some time to vandalize and actually slice the we're talking 4-inch pipe, and they sliced the gate off. And it was on the ground, and on the stop sign that's on the gate, they had left water, like right in the middle of the stop sign, water bladder that said Wakanda forever. What? Wakanda, which is a movie, a Marvel movie that stars mostly African Americans, is very popular.
So let
And
me
then-
interrupt you. Did you call Joan?
Hang on,
Did you call Joan while this was going on?
let me finish, please. So I called the authorities when I found this, and I did talk to the DEC, and he didn't elaborate, but he did say we've had some other vandalism. They've now like welded it back on and repainted it. But the weird thing is that it's clearly just kind of a pissy move because it's not locked. If they really want to go, then you just push it open. So I just thought I would let you know, and it sounded like in the general area, they've been seeing a couple other things, and neighbors to the north of this had a BLM sign vandalized. So we're hoping it's just like irritating teenagers or something, but it took some effort to weld the entire gate, not weld it to cut it off.
Yeah.
So just be aware of that kind of thing, and obviously do report it, even if it seems just weird, I think, so they can.
What address was it exactly? I'm sorry.
So it's the Danby State Forest. And
It's Traver
north,
Road. by the
north of
Quarry.
Peter Road on Traver Road. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You should be calling
And they've
Joan.
also put in between, since last year, the DEC has put in some big boulders happily, where there's been some off-roading into the cranberry bog and into some other wetlands. So I don't know, maybe someone's pissed off that they can't now easily illegally off-road, who knows? Yeah, so so that's good that they did that, so, but just so everybody, just so you know, just keep an eye out in case this kind of crap happens again. Thanks, that's it.
Well, you just have to call Joan. I mean.
Rhonda,
when
please
it's
stop.
Going on. Well, but that's what you do. I'm
We
telling you.
hear you,
what you
Rhonda.
need to
Please
do.
stop.
Okay. So now we're gonna get an update on the town board's review of the temporary easement tax abatement.
Okay, well, I don't remember whether this was already reported to you last month, but the town board endorsed the scope of the that we had recommended.
Good.
And it is now in the attorney's hand to work up a local law to implement it.
Did you go talk to somebody in DEC, not you, but Don and,
Well, that's not about this. That was about the timber harvesting, which is next item.
I'm sorry. Okay, so it's off to the lawyer,
Yep.
right? Thank you. And now we move on to the
The next one.
DEC approval of the timber harvest law.
I spoke with David, who spoke with you evidently, but it did not get conveyed that he was supposed to make an arrangement to have the DEC talk to us.
Oh,
You
okay.
didn't send the minutes
It does, but I mean, but,
Just
but,
the minutes, but yeah.
yeah, but David doesn't necessarily read the minutes. So, I spoke to him this afternoon and, he now knows that he's supposed to make this arrangement. So he said, well, how's it not gonna happen for tonight? He knows it's obviously true. So,
Okay, great.
see if maybe, so I don't know whether they'll be willing to meet with us at our regular meeting time. But my sense was that we would be willing to have an extra meeting to meet with them if necessary.
Yeah, I said that in the minutes too, right?
Yeah. So, we'll see what David can arrange.
Okay, great. USDA Partnership for Climate Smart Commodities, Betsy.
Is it commodities or communities?
It is commodities.
It is. Okay.
This will be very brief. I put this in here because of the regenerative agriculture presentations we've been giving. And this is such an affirmative action on the part of the Secretary of Agriculture and the USDA. They're putting close to $3 billion into what they call climate smart commodities, which are ways of growing everything from beef to corn or whatever in a climate smart fashion. And what they're doing is they're working with the underserved community of all these different farmers and foresters and different ranchers. And they are on multiple fronts, they're helping them work on the methods that would be climate smart. They are working on research and finding out how to measure and monitor the effects. They are working on labeling these products and finding a market for them. And they are working on giving money to research universities in various places to help come up with a better ways of doing these things. And so it's very thorough from beginning to end, kind of opening up, trying to open up a whole new market. It reminds me of when the USDA started defining what was organic, because the market was created for it. And they noticed that people were starting to spend a lot of money on it. But this one, it seems to be driven by the Inflation Reduction Act, and a lot of money has come in and it is being directly used for what at least some people have been lobbying for the Farm Bill to do. Well, the USDA has just gone ahead and doing it. So I was very impressed. Tom Vilsack is the secretary of the Department of Agriculture, and he gave all the information and Zooms and everything himself. So he is very into it, and it's very positive that they are realizing how important agriculture is to climate change.
Great.
So it's just all.
Pardon me?
What's it going to do?
What's he going to do?
No, what's it, all it's going to be?
Is your mic on?
It's going to lead to,
Sounds good, but what's it amount to?
they're trying to change the way farming is done from industrial farming, which is done with, say, monocropping, high pesticide use, GMOs, GMOs, herbicides. It's everything that is creating erosion in the soil and creating also a lot of emissions. So what these new methods are supposed to do is make the soil more resilient for climate change, weather occurrences. And
Pretty well documented that it does.
yes,
Point
yes,
to
it
how
makes
they-
the soil hold water, for instance, better, and
Yeah,
better for drought and for flooding. And also it's supposed to sequester carbon, but that I think is still debatable on some areas. But I don't want to talk very much. I'll just say that I was extremely impressed.
great, thank you. Jonathan and Catherine, have you had a chance to, do any monitoring?
No, we haven't even talked to each other about it. And, I'll take responsibility. I've just been overbooked. I've just got to call her up and we've got to, or she can call me up, but we've got to sort out a schedule and call some people who need to be monitored. No, we've done nothing.
Okay.
Zero.
There, and I don't have their names, but there are two people I know of. One who sent an email to the CAC, maybe a week or two ago. A guy who is interested in, joining in on the
Yeah.
monitoring.
You saw that.
Oh, yes.
And then, I know another man, and I'm blanking on his last name, but his first name is Barham.
First name is what?
Barham.
Aram.
He lives with, Dee Specker.
Oh,
And he used to live in Ithaca and he has moved back and he has an interest in doing it also.
Monitoring.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well,
so you got emails from them? Is that what or calls?
Yes, there is a CAC email, that I responded to. We went back and
With
forth.
one guy. In fact, I invited him to tonight's meeting.
Yeah. I
Oh,
invited him.
Henry. Henry?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Got it.
I suggest you might call him because obviously he doesn't like going to meetings. And so if you call him, Jonathan,
Yeah.
and that might
Did
be
he,
better.
I'm gonna look back at that email right now. Did he give his phone number right there?
I don't remember,
I don't
but
remember that. being
But I can
there,
email him and ask him for his phone number. I got it. So I'll contact Henry and this
Okay.
other guy, Aram,
Barham, I will get a hold of Barham.
and you can give him either mine or Catherine's email too, if he needs it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I've just been overbooked. And it'll be over in about 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's how I feel. Okay. Updates on easements. They're also, I think the same guy, Henry, we got an email from someone who lives on Comfort Road who is interested in pursuing an easement.
Oh, somebody other than.
I think, yes. And I responded on that one.
right, I
too.
saw that too.
So I will follow up with him.
The Hoffman Carlson easement is scheduled for public hearing on the 19th
Great.
and probably will be voted on to be accepted at that same meeting.
May 19th?
Yep.
Yep. A week from tomorrow.
For what it's worth, somewhere, I don't know whether it was in the write up from Corbett or somebody else, it said that the next meeting of the CAC was on the 19th, which was misleading, because then I went and looked back through it.
Yeah, you had it wrong in your article.
It turned out it
I
was
thought
right
it-
this
okay.
time.
I knew there was a typo, but I thought I typoed the 10th instead of the 9th.
Something.
The Danby town is.
It was wrong. It was wrong in Corbett's article.
It looked like the next CAC meeting was the 19th of May.
Okay.
I think there was something that
Well, it was
was.
wrong in the article, but it was right in the calendar.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay, yep, sorry about that, guys.
But anyway, yeah,
I have not been
confusing.
at the top of my game for the last 6 months.
We know you're all right.
Okay.
Joel, can I ask you for clarification? If you're talking about the other easements, the Hoffman, is the Budge Key? I'm pronouncing it wrong. Is that one dead in the water right now?
No,
No.
I asked David about that today too.
Uh-huh.
It's essentially complete in terms of a proposal, which went to the owners of the property and they're mulling it over, I guess. David hasn't heard back from them, but it's the ball's in their court at this point.
Are they in fact under contract to a seller, to a buyer?
Yes. So the front property, that 2 acres or so,
Right.
Yeah.
I think I think he said they might have even closed on it. So that means that property will not be included in the easement.
Got it. That's fine. Got it totally. I now I have something to say to Ben, who's a little anxious, Ben Altman.
Right.
Yeah, mhm.
Yeah, no, I think I read somewhere that it's a relative of Andrea's.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
You told me which one it was, you know, whether it was a cousin or
Right.
sister or something, I don't remember, but yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm not quite sure what you just said.
Yeah, I'm not sure who you mean. Okay, so Andrea Bouget, Butchie,
However you pronounce it.
Okay, Bouget.
made arrangements to sell the small lot at the roadside of the property to a family member.
Oh, at 2 acre, you said?
Something like that.
It's 2 or 3 acres, it's
Yeah.
small.
Relatively small part of a much larger property.
Yeah, it's 100-acre lot and it's
So
not going to affect being able to put the
right,
rest in.
so that lot is too small to be divided
Right.
in the current zoning anyway. So
Yeah, it's locked. Got it.
there's no real conservation value in including it in the easement anyway.
No.
Although I no longer have any faith at all. Here's an aside, Joel, to you and your ilk, because you're looking at something over on Hornbrook that has the possibility, initially 8, maybe 4 plus a community center, and it completely defies the zoning. And it blows my mind that they're even entertaining it at the planning board or the BZA. I don't know which, but that just blows me out of the water that that's happening. So
Yeah,
our
so-
zoning is like Swiss cheese.
Well, if they get an approval, it certainly would demonstrate that it's not worth a whole lot.
The
But
fact that they're even able to bring it,
well,
that
I mean,
someone
anybody-
talked to them,
anybody-
someone, presumably David, talked to them and said, oh yeah, this is plausible. I don't even want to, I am furious about that.
Well, I mean, consider Tobo Shibata, who was told repeatedly by David and myself and others that, you know, there's no way this is going to fly. But yet, we can't say, if somebody wants to propose it anyway, you know, we have to entertain it. And that's what happened. And she was told, no way.
Is that
But-
true? Both you and David very clearly and adamantly said to her, it's not going to fly.
We're
That was
both,
probably the original 8 units. Now she's dropped it to 4 plus a community center on a fragile, incredibly sloped over a very important creek. I'm just blown away, zoning my butt.
yeah. Well, you know, there were some changes that made it plausible that by the way, they just got $74,000 from the county.
I couldn't care less. I knew that was going to happen. It's so political. It has nothing to do with the environment.
Yeah, they got a right of way across from Nelson.
I
So
saw
the-
that, and that's more fragmentation. It's going to be, you know, it's a pack. They're going to pack it. So it's more impermeable surfaces, and it doesn't do anything about the idea of farming and inhabiting slope like that. It's not all bad slope, but wet area like that, where there's obvious recharge issues over a creek, you know, in a riparian way over a creek that feeds the rest of the area that's already got HABs, already got silt issues. You know, it's ridiculous. It's like we don't even have environmental people, you know, in positions of decision-making. It's ridiculous.
Excuse me, where is this located?
We're talking about the, what do they call those?
I don't mean to sound angry or anything, but
Their quote unquote farm proposal for, I think it's a 14-acre parcel that fronts on Hornbrook Road.
Oh,
And the frontage on Hornbrook Road is really problematic. And it's a very steep down in and then across the creek. It would have been very hard for them to get access that way.
the DEC would have questions about the creek.
From Nelson Road that would, and the county money, by the way, is contingent upon, well, it has some stipulations in it. 50-foot setback from wetlands, and repairing
both
ways,
sides. Yep.
yeah.
You know, they should have engaged us in any case. We're supposedly an advisory body, and the town or the planning board or the BZA should have said, hey, we need better input on this one. This is a biggie.
Well, I mean, if it hasn't gone to anybody yet. So I mean, they could go several ways. They could propose a planned development zone, in which case it would go before the town board to entertain. That would be a rezoning. It's a discretionary action. There's no entitlement associated with that.
I get it.
Alternatively, they could go to the Board of Zoning Appeals and ask for a variance
Right.
on the density. And then they
The
have to
only
weigh.
reason I heard about it is because my wife is on the board. That's a total accident. If I weren't screaming now, bloody murder, we wouldn't even have this topic in front of the CAC. And this is exactly what the CAC is at least partly designed to help with.
I'd like to interject. I think what Jonathan's saying is something worthy of thought, that maybe is there a way in some of the, again, using my bad words, wrong, incorrect words, whatever way, to make some kind of charter that when things come, that the CAC should be in the review process for these things?
Which certainly would make sense to have the CAC weigh in
Yes,
either way if it comes before the
not just
town
this,
board.
not just this.
Yeah,
This
well,
is
I
the
mean,
second time this has happened. The first time was with that solar. It was almost accidental that they asked me to come up with some work, and Corbin and I sat down and ground through some details to present a little position paper to you guys. Again, it was totally accidental. It was either David or you, Joel, who said, hey, let's get some input from Zisk or the rest of the CAC. Right. I think what Catherine is saying is it ought to be formalized.
The formalizing is make it a conservation board.
well, I mean, a conservation board would make it required. That doesn't mean that we can't, anything a conservation board can do,
I know.
the town can, the board can
Make it a
instruct.
charge,
You can
right?
write it in.
Enable if it wants
You
to.
can write it in. Exactly. You can enable it.
But most things that come before the planning board wouldn't necessarily be profit from,
Yeah.
CAC.
You need triggers. You have very simple triggers. You need a checklist, like a secret, like that silly thing I was putting together for you about development. That was way too long, but you need a quick little checklist that they could use
Yeah,
to determine.
yeah, it'd be good to have some sort of triggering list or something that would precipitate review by the CAC as part of the, consideration of whether or not something should be
Exactly.
approved.
Exactly. All right, I said my piece. There we are. And now everybody on the CAC is aware that there is a sort of an important event going on.
Which piece of property is it again?
It's on Hornbrook Road.
Yeah.
It's just short of Nelson.
It's pretty much across from Danby Hardwoods.
A little bit
was-
further down, it's on the north side, and it's astonishing when you look out at the ravine to even imagine people building on it.
Yeah. Is that the people who were at the Danby Market last summer?
No, they're on the other side.
Oh,
The name of the.
Oh, then Cuba International is what the group calls itself.
how do you spell that?
How-
KUBAH, I think, but I'm not sure.
Okay,
That's what I just said,
really.
KUBAH. Is it
No, I think it's
KUBA?
You see,
KHUBA?
there's no access, because on the map, I've got it
Right.
right up next to Hornbrook Road.
This land was, somebody tried to do something on it once before.
Right.
Yeah,
it was-
it was
it failed.
approved. It
And
was
he
approved
decided it
for-
didn't work. He backed out. He decided he did not want to do it.
Yeah.
Too much.
but it
For
was
good
approved
reason.
for- Yeah, you could just barely manage a single family house
That
on
you
that,
said it, Joel.
uphill, close to the road. And squeeze the septic system in, so you didn't go, down the
said it.
steep hill and-
I mean, that you just said a mouthful, Joel. That's exactly it. It's unbelievable what they're trying to put together.
Yeah, but they're not gonna access it that way, because they're talking about accessing on Nelson Road. And then they're only crossing a tributary instead of crossing the creek. And they would be accessing the non-wetland part of the property. Just
It's-
plausible enough.
It's the habitation and the farming that will release the friable soil and put it even into the tributary. It will end up in as the water up and, 3 or 4 times a year, we'll get enough of a rainfall that it'll end up in the creek, and that's silt. And it's also whatever they've got in the way of potentially HABs that they're tracking in with their feet. These are not farmers, and even farmers, I'm sorry, Don. Don't pay a huge amount of attention to what they're tracking in. You know, it's not something that's going to be their concern, their primary concern, what they're doing downstream. That will not be on their minds. And it's just a dangerous, silly place to put a farm. And nobody sat down and said, hey, let's look for alternatives. This is a great idea. It's educational. It's going to help folks from the inner city. It works with sustainability and farm to table ideas, which are all vital. It's all stuff that's wonderful, but it's not the right place.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with what you just said. And David in particular tried to emphasize to them when they were proposing this, that they ought to find some other place to do it.
Yeah.
I suggested
Good.
that they approach the people at Eco Village about collaborating, because it seemed like the sort of thing that was suited to, you know, their sort of cooperative model.
Yep.
And they've got much better, you know, soils and location.
Oh, yeah. And experts there.
Yeah, but it didn't, they wanted to do their own thing. Yeah.
I'm just afraid the planning board and the BZA have had goofed before, you know, and have underestimated the problems with a plan, with a proposal. And I just am afraid it's going to happen again. And I wish we were able to, you know, formally give them input, but whatever.
It will not go to the planning board.
Right. Sorry, not yet.
It will either come to the town board
Yep.
for plan development zone, or it'll go to the BZA.
I'm sorry. I keep saying planning board because I've got all three of you guys lumped in one big bundle right now, and it's not a pleasant bundle in my hand. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry for that because you've done a lot of wonderful things. But boy, oh boy, has a lot of crap gotten through. A lot of decisions that ought not to have been made. But okay, enough. Sorry, that's a lot of time.
Right. Which is not exactly an easement update, but.
Right, well, okay, so, but I think we're done with the easement updates now. So we can move on to the New York State ACC meeting.
Oh. I put my name down there because I don't know if Joel, you've claimed ownership. I'm not claiming ownership on this.
Nice neck.
Because I don't have the time, but I do think that we should, I know they're looking for speakers and they're looking for trips. That's one of the things that we're supposed to supply. And unfortunately, I didn't make it to their meeting, their
Organizational
last
meeting?
meeting,
Yeah.
because I just couldn't get there. So,
And neither did Jonathan.
right.
Yeah.
And then she didn't send out any email update on it either.
Mhm.
But I thought of a couple of places and I thought I'd run it past you. The theme, remember, is what are we doing to respond to a changing climate? It's organized. Kate Darfler's
Mhm.
Kate Darfler is really very administratively astounding and putting the whole thing together. So I thought for our CAC group, we have a couple of things that might go. The Ben Altman, David Henshaw on cultural easements. What if he gave a short talk on that? That is
Interesting thought.
a very climate smart thing in the sense that indigenous and sustainable growth are now being put together. Indigenous oversight and sustainable growth.
He'd love that. He would love that, Betsy.
I think that, do you want to talk to him about it?
I
mean,
could, or you could, or Joel could. I don't either. Anyway, I mean, if other people want to get involved with Ben, he's really a ball to talk with. But
Oh, yeah, I can talk to him, I guess, but I have to get some background so he knows what the whole thing is about. I'll give him some background on the NYSAC.
cool, very cool.
And there's another thing, it's not our CAC, but Food for the Future, Don Barber and Katie Hallis is very much a part of a
Yep.
changing climate. I don't know,
Yeah, that's true.
we could talk.
Ken did a talk. Am I remembering his first name? Wow, I've known the guy for 15 years, 20 years. Ken Barber, right?
Oh, you mean Don Barber?
Don Barber.
Don Barber gave a talk to the CRP, the Climate Reality project, that's another group I'm part of, last week, which was that group. He had, it was an amazing PowerPoint. So he would be valuable for input with this.
I had already suggested him. I don't know the speakers they've suggested so far and if they even still need speakers. But anyway, I was just running these by you people so you could say okay or no. Then I thought,
You are at the schedule though, because they need to get their programming pretty much
right,
finalized
by the end of
by
May.
the end of May, right?
So the last one I thought of is problems encountered with solar farms. I mean, we've run into all sorts of problems with wetlands. Bill Evans came and talked about, was it grebes?
Yep, Pie Bill Grebes.
And
Pie
you
Bill
made a
Grebes.
report on it,
Yep.
you and Catherine. So that might be something that we could talk about.
Mhm.
And certainly, I mean, that's an important thing. So if I just pull the information together about the people who we should talk to and give them information on what the hell New York's NYSACC is that okay? Jonathan?
Yep, totally.
I mean, that's the last thing and the other thing is trips. The trips don't have to be related to the topic. And so I just thought but they need drivers.
It's kind of like cool things for the family to do while other people.
Right. The farmer's market, of course, is a great trip.
Yeah.
Then there's a boat that's on the Cayuga Lake, Discover Cayuga Lake,
It's a really nice activity.
right,
Yeah.
and to Gannick Falls. And then I just ran into somebody that I knew. What's her name? Joey Gates,
Right. Joe.
and she is now working at the Cornell Atkinson Center of Sustainability.
Okay.
So we're going to have some tea together and talk about possibilities of what we can pull together for trips. Is that okay with everybody?
I'm just gonna assume that plantation, or the Botanic Garden is already involved.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one too. But I mean, I'm just throwing these out. I'm sure these suggestions probably have duplicate
Yeah.
suggestions.
Well, yeah, some of
The
them,
main thing-
hopefully, other people thought of these things too.
Yeah, is anybody willing to do any driving? To drive people out to these things?
What weekend is it?
It's,
September, right? September 21st?
yeah, around September 21st and that.
At this point, it's hard to say.
Yeah, it's hard to tell.
No point in doing it in my vehicle, I'm over one more person.
Uh-huh. Well, I'll tell Kate what we have so far and, anyway, we'll see
Yeah.
what we go from
See
there.
what she
Good.
might want to incorporate.
What was the name of the whole thing again?
It's New York State, now ACC,
Association of Conservation Commissions.
yeah, it's all of the groups like us in the state. And they're going to be,
CAC is only.
The conservation councils and conservation boards. They can sort of group them together and call them conservation.
But they said that they all have a municipality that's home.
right,
They do, yeah.
They do.
But this is an association, the association of which we are a member, it's just a collaboration for promote joint activity.
Changing information,
Yeah.
et cetera.
Well, yeah, and pushing the sort of a conservation agenda
Okay.
collectively.
Okay, so most of these folks are volunteers then with their municipal groups or some
Probably.
paid?
Probably. Well, anybody's paid.
pardon me, what was the question?
Well, Don asked whether some of these people are paid.
Paid, they're paid to get in? That's the
No,
one.
no.
No, to know whether people who are on these conservation boards and whatever, are any of these paid positions.
We don't get paid, so do they get paid?
I doubt it, I doubt it.
They're mostly volunteers.
They might have, some bigger places might have a paid coordinator.
That I would think they'd have to.
It might, not necessarily, yeah. Well, we have a paid secretary. You know.
There we go.
So it might be, it's a wonderful opportunity to talk to people, your counterparts all over the state,
Yeah.
as
See if
well
we
as.
can get it right.
on
Have you not been getting hasn't everybody been getting the periodic communications from
I
NISAC?
still can't get into Zoho, so
Oh,
I'm pretty much out of the link here.
Huh.
Out of the-
we've been, occasionally they send emails
Yeah.
about, what webinars or things that are happening that
Yeah,
that we could participate in.
sorry.
Well, and
Maybe with a new platform. we can get that.
Yeah.
here in Tompkins County, I mean, it's going to be also the EMC, all the sustainability groups in Tompkins County, every place from Cornell to Ithaca College to,
Right, but the EMC is hosting
yeah, EMC is hosting.
and coordinating.
Gotcha, thank you.
All right, so the flood map was a brand new thing, when we sat down for our last meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And I've looked at it, and a newer version of it came out that was a little easier to actually study. And then I've seen comment about the fact that really, this new map doesn't impact very many households in the town of Danby.
Mm-hmm.
So do we need to discuss it?
Well,
Or is it
Well-
pretty much being taken care of, by David and the town? I mean,
well, what the town has done is, David did mail to the 17 properties that were affected. And the information that about the two sessions that were held, for people to get information about it for their properties. There was one held down at was it one of the schools?
Yeah.
I think it was at Boynton Middle School. Anyway, there was one there, and then the other one's up in the northeast someplace. Was it? I can't remember where exactly.
Without looking at that letter. you
Whether it was at
remember
the
where they were.
grass and rescue facility or somewhere up in the northeast. Anyway, there were two opportunities for people to go, and they were not presentations. They were, they were information sessions where you go in and you say, my property is here, and they talk to you about, what are your options and what are the implications. Right. So that's what we did. Basically, we just tell people, if you're, because it does, the effect of it is that if your dwelling ends up in a 100-year floodplain, then if you have a federally backed mortgage, you have to have flood insurance. And it's a significant expense. It might be a significant expense you might want to incur, because if you're at risk of flooding, you might want to be insured against the possibility that you will be flooded.
Right, but you need to know.
But you need to know, right?
Well, yeah. I was talking to David just the other day about it, and he said that the town or the city, Ithaca, is considering having an inspection, that everybody join in the big inspection to find out whether or not. And some of the houses that are in Danby, it actually shows it touching a house that may or may not be.
Mhm.
So it's an
Right.
inexact science, and they need to be inspected. So
Yeah, they
that's
need
part of it.
something called like an elevation report. or
Yeah, an
something
elevation report, right, and then,
to see whether or not they're actually in or not. Because it's like, as you say, I didn't see when I was looking at the map, any houses.
there's one
But
house
like
that
one
shows
was
it right
like the
touching
corner
it, like,
touching it or something.
yeah, it's like in the,
Yeah, so may or may not be, depending on where the elevation really is.
right. But there is some houses that are very close to the creek that goes down Miller
Yep.
Road.
Yep.
Some of them that we think might be in it aren't in it. When you
Yeah.
look, it's really very odd.
Well,
So
I don't think that there's anything on the Miller
East
Creek.
Miller,
Yeah,
there is a woman who built right next to the creek. I was amazed that she got the rights to do that.
yeah. Well, back in the day.
No, she just did it a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
Oh,
well, there's a setback in the creek. but it's not huge. I think it's 100 feet.
That's correct.
I know some people from Austin, or not Austin, Dallas, and they had that big hurricane flood. They were very badly surprised, a lot of people, that they did not get insurance. FEMA did not help them because they had not gotten the right kind of insurance.
Yeah.
Yep.
FEMA would not even touch them.
Most people don't realize that flood insurance is not something that comes with homeowners insurance.
Right.
If flooding is excluded. So you have to have, you have to have special coverage for flooding.
But it's not just the coverage, it's the help that FEMA would give them for temporary housing and things like that.
Yeah, I was surprised by that. What she's saying is right, that if you're not insured, FEMA will not help you.
Wow,
Yeah.
pretty shocking.
Yeah.
It isn't, because with the flood insurance program has been a huge, running a huge deficit for a long time.
Right,
People build in places where houses should not be,
right.
and then they buy insurance. And for a while it was relatively inexpensive until recently they've started raising the rates to reflect the actual risk and the chance that people are actually going to get flooded and they're going to have to pay for it. Which is making it uneconomical to build in these places where places shouldn't be built in the first place.
Right, it's kind of the only way to go about places like the Outer Banks where they just keep
They
rebuilding.
keep rebuilding.
Flooded over,
Yeah.
and they build $1 million homes and think that they've got some
Did you
value.
find your phone?
Just have to go, no, you can't do that anymore. You know, no,
Or if you're going to do it, you're at risk
yeah, right.
for your investment. You know,
At your own risk.
don't expect us to bail
Right,
you
at your
out.
own risk, exactly.
Okay, we have made it through the agenda, kids.
Well, except for the 9.
Oh, I'm sorry, my page turned, okay.
We started a discussion about goals.
Right,
This is where I think we should ask the town board to enable us to have review on, I mean, even if it just came in with a checklist, I mean, something.
I can write up a
put Jonathan.
checklist and I can ask for some input from the other nominal experts like Brittany on, on things that I'm weak, but I can write up a short, sweet little checklist that the planning board and the BZA could use, where it would basically say, if you check off, 3 out of 5 of these little features, please refer the project or proposal, I don't know what the right word is, to the CAC for non-binding, valuable input back to you guys.
just comment,
Yeah, comments, exactly.
yep. Okay, great.
Sort of like what we have with the county with the 239 review, where if it checks certain boxes, then the county gets to weigh in on it.
Right.
And then the result is, well, it's not binding, but it does require a supermajority to ignore.
Uh-huh. Okay, well, yeah, that'll be up to the town board to decide whether or not how they
I don't know if we could,
implement that.
I don't know that we could do that.
Yeah.
But we could certainly, create a checklist and endorse it and say that, if these boxes are checked, then the CAC should weigh in before you decide how to deal with whatever it is that's before you. Whether it's a, subdivision review or a site plan approval, just to
I
say.
think that would be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So who comes first? We write a list and say, could town board do this?
Yeah, I would
Ask
think so. I mean,
So-
well,
Jonathan just offered to.
yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
good. Sorry, I
Yeah, I
didn't-
just wrote myself a note that says we need a checklist for the BZA, the planning board, that would trigger a referral to the CAC for comments. But then you're asking, Catherine, whether the town board should tell us to do this, or who does this then go to for enabling? Do I send this checklist after asking Brittany to take a look at it, and then after asking the rest of the CAC to okay it, do we end up sending it as a group to the town board, or do we have the power to just say no, we don't have that power at all, to just say to the
No, it would go
BZA
to
or
the town board.
Yeah, it goes
right,
to the.
you guys have to do it.
as a recommendation.
Right.
I think, Jonathan, there's no reason not to include the town board. For the.
Right. For the three bodies that would
because of
ask
the
for our
possibility of,
advisory input. Yeah,
Right,
got
it
it.
is
But
the
the
middle name.
enabling or the formalizing of this actually being a requirement of all three of those bodies would come from the town board, correct?
Correct.
Okay, good. And then actually I did do some homework on the discussion of, it is, I've read the comprehensive plan. Well, no, I'd be lying. I read the summary of the comprehensive
Oh,
plan
yeah.
and I looked at some of the maps and stuff. And what relates to us most importantly is the last part of the summary, which really deals with land use.
Mhm.
And I believe that in the actual comprehensive plan, it is noted what the amount and location of forested and undeveloped acreage and frontage on existing year-round roads is. I think we have that information
Right, it
somewhere.
might be a little bit dated, but
Cool.
So I'd like to grab that because I think that that's something that could go into a preamble for the Conservation Advisory Council. Because what it talks about, well, your thoughts, not, that there's somewhere, and I'll go back and I'll find it. It states percentages of the town of Danby that are in forest and agriculture.
Oh, you mean for the management plans?
Yeah.
The town.
Yeah,
You
so-
did you get that? I sent it to you.
Yes, so we
Right.
have that information.
Mhm.
And it's a good way of starting out to describe Danby, because the comprehensive plan it says it's for the rural character of the town of Danby. But you can just say what Danby is. Danby is, 60% forested and, 20% residential and the rest is in agriculture and my numbers aren't right, but it's mostly forested. Cleared land that is not an active agriculture, but it's still potentially agricultural land. And that just sort of sets the scene,
yeah, that information informed the rezoning process.
Yeah,
I mean, that's how we ended up with the zones we ended up, was looking at where are the priority areas for conservation, and that created the most restrictive zone, which consists almost entirely protected land, so it's kind of already protected anyway,
right.
but then, R1 and R2, I forget which is which, but I think R1 is the most restricted one.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
And that one was like, the adjacent land that we most would not see developed. And then R2 was like, we'd rather not, but we less rather not than with R1. And then what remained ended up in the low density
right.
zone, except for the hamlets. And that was a discussion itself, was, what's the hamlet? But the low density residential was basically a concession that, well, these areas have already gotten built out in sort of a suburban way.
Yep.
Is the comprehensive plan a booklet? Is it a book? Is it available for us to look
It's
at?
a book, pretty much. It's a tome.
20-something pages.
Right, it's not something you can.
Yeah,
download.
it's in documents on the web.
It's on the website. It's on the website, yeah.
You can download it as a PDF if you really
Or you
want.
could just read it on the.
I doubt if I can download it because my internet isn't that good.
You can read it there though, and if not, you can.
Yeah, you can just,
We used to have a copy of it.
I was going to say there should be a hard copy of it in the clerk's office to look at. If you don't want to look at it on the web. There are only a few
How easy it is
complete.
to look at.
Yeah, there's only a few complete versions of it because there's lots and lots of, tables and pictures and stuff that are expensive to reproduce.
right.
So how many people have actually read it?
I did.
Yeah, I mean, how many people besides?
I looked at it,
Yeah.
the same thing Corbett did. It is long.
Yeah. So a lot of good
Yeah.
stuff in it. We're gonna come back to it for too long, because it's already been.
Yeah.
Although it has been almost 20 years since that
Well,
was
it was-
written,
Updated in 2010 or 12.
not really. I mean, the changes that were made in 2000 and whatever it was, 9 or 10 or 11, were mostly to accommodate fracking.
Right.
And there were changes just to, to say, well, we got to put it in the comprehensive plan in order to have, legislation restricting fracking.
Right.
But the whole picture, the broad comprehensive planning process hasn't been updated in 20 years. But it also hadn't been implemented. It was, the zoning was out of step with the vision in the comprehensive plan, and that didn't get fixed until last year.
Right.
So in a sense, we've only had on the books zoning that's consistent with our comprehensive plan for a little over a year. So, but it has been 20 years. So, before too long, we need to go back and say, okay, do we still have the same vision that we had 20 years ago of where we want the town to go? Or has it changed? And if so, how has it changed? And what do we want to put in going forward?
Yeah, I noticed when I was reading through the summary, which is 26 pages long.
Yeah.
That there's a lot about trying to recreate the community center, and really the whole Hamlet thing that's just coming through now is the beginnings of that effort.
Yeah, we were talking about it for a long time, focusing growth in the hamlets and trying to discourage growth in the periphery.
Right.
And we had zoning that encouraged sprawl until now.
Yeah.
And we need to, so there are a couple of critical things here. Unless we are successful in promoting growth of the hamlets, what we will have done is just made it very difficult for anybody to afford to be in Danby at all. Right, which is, not good. So we do need to put some effort into how do we grow the hamlets and where do we grow the hamlets? And if they're going to be hamlets and not just suburbia, we have to have smaller lots than what the health department will allow you to have, which means that there has to be some sort of shared systems for wastewater, especially wastewater. So we're almost at the point, within a couple of months, of completing a sewer study. It's a wastewater. I'd really like to call it a wastewater study. How do we enable shared systems? And it includes, we discovered you have to look at the whole range of options. So it includes the possibility of what would it look like if you decided to sewer the entire hamlet of Danby and the entire hamlet of West Danby? What would that look like? What would it cost? And then, if not that, or some subset of it, because they'll make the engineers will make a recommendation that we think got to do this. What I was hoping to get out of it was what are other ways of enabling shared systems, particularly greenfield systems or systems that would do just the neighborhood. For instance, in a relevant topic is what about right here in the middle, where we've got two lots over here, and we've got this one over here, and we've got Olivia's across the street, and we've got the former Benjamin's one-stop lot, which is a postage stamp of a lot. We've got the Gathery is now called, which a building and a parking lot occupying almost the entire lot. I mean, how are you going to do anything there unless you have a sewer to, deal with it? There's a few like that where we might be able to do something, that wouldn't get people totally up in arms about, how much is it going to cost me to connect? What's wrong with my septic system? Works fine. But enabling new neighborhoods, we have perhaps a couple of willing players, including the new owner of the Dobson property.
Oh, who's the new owner of the Dobson?
Yeah, it's can't remember his name. Former sheriff deputy. And if I hadn't been asked, I would remember.
Does he have plans?
No, well, we're waiting for him to acquire clear title. Because Rick left it to him, but his family objected. I think that he now has acquired title. And if, I don't know if you've noticed, but he's done a lot of cleaning up.
Yeah.
The property looks a lot better already. And he's open to, possibilities, which, so, that's, having willing players is an important part of doing anything.
There was, that, proposal by the county of putting lower income housing near,
Shane
bus
Shane
station.
Spencer.
Hmm?
Shane Spencer
Shane Spencer.
is the name of the new owner.
Oh, there's a place in, across from, there's a place downtown, a place in, off Mecklenburg Road, there's a place, different places, the concept is you put in a lower income housing, or mixed lower income housing, and you have, a store that's close by, you have transportation that's close by, and we do have 96B with transportation. I mean, have you talked to them at all about using this new area that is opening up for that kind of housing?
Not yet.
Or is that something-
What we have gotten, they applied for it, we haven't yet heard back for Olivia's property across the way. That garage-like structure in the middle.
Mhm.
There's a group at Eco Village, Whitehawk, that wants to do like a little store. And we're trying to enable that. So they applied for some, let's see, I think it's Restore New York. There's a thing that helps rural towns that have, invest in their historical downtowns to improve their economic viability. Danby doesn't have much of a downtown, and neither does West Danby to work with. I mean, it's better suited to a place that has a real downtown that's kind of gotten seedy, but ours burned down a long time ago.
Right.
So it's not exactly a blank slate, but we have a lot of bit of an uphill climb here. There's a bunch of things needs to fall in. The other thing that we've done, we did get the one affordable housing grant for $500,000 to help people with really rundown properties deal with the worst problems. And we also got a grant from the county to hire a grant writer to pursue additional grants that address housing affordability, not just affordable housing, but housing affordability. So that it's broad enough to include, what do we do to enable, more economical construction. And that is, in part, that's accomplished by higher density. So, there's going to be in a couple of weeks, if we can arrange it. David and I were brainstorming about this. We're going to do a dish to pass supper, one at the Danby Fire Hall and one at the West Danby Fire Hall, probably the 25th and 26th of May, to get the feedback from the people who live in the hamlets about what they think that we should be pursuing by way of grants in order to enhance affordability.
Great. At the church?
No, at the fire hall.
Awesome.
Yeah, both fire halls.
Super. Okay, well, excuse me one second. We were talking about group discussion enabling legislation for CAC and goals of Danby comprehensive plan. So what are the goals? Did you figure out what the goals are of the?
No, we have not figured out what the goals are.
CAC,
The CAC.
right? We had
Well, no, for the CAC, but we're supposed to, what are the goals of the comprehensive plan?
They're pretty clear if you look at it, but the question was really whether or not we, in light of our mission, might have some suggestions about how we could pick up on the goals that are there, or if we see something that isn't there that's consistent with what we're about, that we might suggest that the our comprehensive plan could be changed.
Right, well,
to
we
accommodate.
do, we do education stuff. That was one of the, goal, yeah, I mean, the way this document is written, there are goals and objectives, right?
Right, and strategies.
And strategies.
Yeah, goals, objectives, strategy.
Right.
It's sort of a hierarchy.
And so so in the land use section of it, the main goal was, I believe, was to, to document what exists and then and preserve and protect floodplains and such like that. So the rezoning has taken care of a lot of that.
Well, who was driven by it?
Yeah, and then in the other parts that relate more to community, there are parts about education and outreach, which I think Brittany and Betsy especially have been doing a great job since I joined. You know, we do education programs.
Yeah.
And then the easement is what we were charged to do. And then there's and now we've decided that we would like to be more directly in communication with the town board and other boards in order to advise on the protection of the land that we are all responsible for.
Right, and that's always been a possibility right from the get-go.
Yeah, so, I mean, those are our 4 goals. Renee, you got another one? Wildlife education seemed to be one of your big ones.
Yeah, I mean.
Is your mic on? Because you're awfully, Renee, is your mic on? You're awfully far from it for them to be hearing.
Definitely wildlife education, but I would go beyond education. I don't have the right articulation for it, but something to do with activism. I don't want to just, not just, but education would be part of it, but soliciting more. And I have to think about it, but somehow that represents we're soliciting more involvement.
Right.
From the community.
Right. Trying to,
Attached to education.
right, engagement in,
Engagement.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I have plenty of ideas about that.
What kind of wildlife?
What kind of wildlife? I mean,
There's a few bears around here, but you're thinking of small animals or birds or
I don't,
just general?
I would come from a different direction as to wildlife that are topical and relevant for whatever reason, good, bad, and otherwise, and things that will be of interest, obviously, but also that maybe there's a lot of fear or interest and mythology and that kind of thing. So there's definitely first picks that come to mind, everything from invasive pests to predators that people enjoy and don't want in their backyards. I mean, the whole gamut is possible.
Kind of.
And I think really the question is, I mean, that's endless. The question is really how do we engage the public, really? This always has been the question. So events are great and additions to the website and getting involved in that aspect of things. I personally would love to do a bio blitz at some point for the community, and I'd love to organize that. It has to be done well ahead of time. But, I'm sorry, a bio blitz. So basically it's, yeah. So you offer a given period of time, when people go out and you give them some directive of, looking and amassing wildlife. It's almost a scavenger hunt, but especially with now the technology we have and cameras on your phones, even if you don't have a good camera and all that. There's a lot that we could do. It just comes down to time, energy. But making the website a bit more exciting always comes into play.
It's fun to have a little section to say, I like this phrase, I probably mentioned it before, but the did you know phrase. Little, like just the other day, I happened to be at the end of something, I saw this really short thing about the diamondback rattlesnake and how important it is. And all people want to do is shoot it as soon as they see one.
Yeah, well, there's definitely always one with a fear factor.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what it is. I mean, I've seen it on community forums where people saying, oh my God, there's a fox in my yard and I have children, so we can, I've seen the whole gamut of, and so deciding what to talk about and soliciting input on that, of course, that's the easy part, as long as it
It's been
seems
interesting.
relevant to the community.
It's been interesting to see the evolution in people's expectations and feelings towards bears. Just in the last few years, because of course they were a completely new thing.
Yeah.
And it went from, oh my God, I saw a bear.
Yeah.
To, oh my God, I saw a bear.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Yeah, and there's a lot of new, more recent research about black bears and how they've succeeded mostly by running away and climbing trees. And it's some really interesting info and having bear smart communities because, they can come in and destroy your stuff because they're hungry and that kind of thing. But then invasives, and we're all interested about the invasive and connecting that to climate. Everything can be connected nowadays to climate change, even the changes in what we're seeing in bird populations and how those are impacting agriculture and in ways that are being researched. See, you got me started. Now I'm not. So, but I definitely.
Invasives might be another thing
to
talk. Sorry, invasives might be another thing to talk about at that New York State ACC.
It's true. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, everything, and it's relevant on so many branches. You talk about species that are in the decline from ticks and how, I mean, when I was growing up here, I never saw a tick ever.
Right.
And the tick population keeps going up. We've seen that. I was just reading how the gnat population quadrupled. It's supposed to double again, this stuff matters.
All the wrong ones,
Where are the monarch population? Yeah. So, but the neat thing about wildlife is that it's a really good, as you guys know, a point to draw people in who might not be caught by other concepts like an easement, but then when they are drawn in and they hear more about it, now we've got their interest and they can read on it now that we're in the short attention span era of everything.
It was from the get-go, it was the reason for doing any of our sort of educational things was the thought that the more people know about their land, the more they can appreciate, what it has to, why it's worth preserving.
More interesting.
And being careful stewards of.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So I guess education and engagement sounds good. Wildlife and then we can also bring in, it's an opportunity to bring in something from our Native Americans. And they're, something where any species of wildlife is particularly important or special in their mythology, it's all good, depending on what the venue is and how we want to use that. I mean, I was just an aside, but I was saw this log out in my yard and my dog barking at it, and I was wondering why he's barking at a log, and then I noticed the log was moving. So I went out to find a good-sized snapper had just woken up from his long winter's nap and had about 8 inches of earth and mud on top of it. But I thought that's really cool, because think how many Native Americans saw that, as well as other, indigenous mythologies that include the turtle with the world or a mountain on its back. And I always thought, well, because it has a shell, but no, look at it has the earth on its back. That's the coolest thing. And then I posted something on a forum, and I got tons of responses, but people finding it fascinating, and the interest in the mythology to the, my snapper and stories. So I think that's a great way, even in small bits, to try to attract some attention to whatever we want to do. Good idea.
This process was driven by a desire to have a synoptic little summary thing that would state our mission more succinctly than the 2 pages that are in the enabling resolution.
Yeah, and I'm making notes here, to encourage stewardship, to inform, whatever, to engage and to oversee. Because so far, I think that's 4 different things that may start coming together. Get that other thing. You might not, there may be one more we decide to throw in, but you don't want to. 6 would be a lot.
Yeah.
Well, it also comes back to who's doing what and how much energy we have.
Exactly.
Yeah.
These are things that we're actually doing.
Yeah.
This is a very good point.
Because I'm as guilty as the next say, oh, wow, I got all these ideas. And then it comes back to my friend, the wonderful, one of the best, most successful activists I know. And she'd always be like, well, you're nominated. We volunteer you. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to shut up now.
Okay, so actually, I think we did have a meaningful conversation.
So are you gonna take this and work it into a
Yes, I'm gonna start it.
statement?
Corbett, turn on your mic.
Jonathan.
Thank you, Corbett.
So you didn't hear this, but I have these 4 terms that are starting to emerge from the conversations. To encourage stewardship. And that's probably through informing people, engaging people, and overseeing easements and whatever. That I'll put that together into something, and we'll start arguing over that.
Yeah.
I got a thumbs up from Jonathan. Great. And from Brittany. I score. Okay, on that note, I suggest that we
Adjourn?
adjourn the meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fine to me.
Okay,
Yay.
thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Take care,
Appreciate
everybody.
it.
Take
Great
be
seeing
well.
everybody.
Thank you, Brittany, especially for sitting outside in the cold.
Yeah,
It's a bit chilly, but it's quieter than inside with all the kids.
37.
Oh my
lucky,
God,
lucky
yeah.
you.
Unfortunately, we
lucky
may
you.
have a frost tonight.
Just
Tonight?
stop. Shh. Oh,
Really.
oh,
Yeah.
All right, take care, everybody. I'll see you in person next time.
Okay, thank you.
bye.
I
Bye
know.
all.
Hold on.
I hope not, but you know, despite the fact the National Weather Service doesn't call for it, we had 35 last night when they're calling for 41.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Be well, everybody.
It's maybe.
You're right. Yes, we may have frost. but-
It's particularly hard to believe right now, it's gonna be,
Wednesday.
but it, it's just to learn.